Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we're gonna be reviewing the album Alienism by the band Infringement.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
So a quick warning before we begin, I believe this one to be a very short review. I have not a lot to say and I'm gonna elaborate on that in just a second. Yeah, that's pretty funny that I have not a lot to say, but I'm gonna elaborate on it. I think it's, I laugh at my own jokes sometimes. Please enjoy my favorite bits from this album.
Mesmerism will cure your mental disorder.
So these are Infringement. They're a neo-prog band originating from Norway, and honestly they might be categorized as neo-prog, but a lot of the things that are found on this album really make me think that they're at least somewhat symphonic. Formed in 2015, this is their second album released in 2019. They released their first album in 2017, and as for now in 2022, they have no other releases. And continuing the point as I said about being a symphonic prog, they also mention on their website that they are really inspired by bands like Pendragon and Arena and Genesis and Camel. Specifically, I don't see this on this album, but I do feel they have somewhat of an inspiration from what made 70s prog great. And honestly, come to think of it, I think that they even sound a bit like soft metal, and I like that. I like how they do this interpretation of this subgenre. Although it might feel like it, this is definitely not one of those neo-prog albums that basically sounds the same as anyone else. I think it's one of those really unique neo-prog albums, which is overall pretty good. And this album does the odd thing that you don't really usually see in most albums, that I believe, at least to me, it starts off a bit weak, and as it progresses it's getting better. So the first track on here is my least favorite, while the fourth and last track is my favorite, and that's easy to say because honestly this album only has 4 tracks, and it's just starting off not so good, getting better, getting way better. And honestly, I don't really have a lot to say about this album because this band in general is pretty new. As I said, they formed in 2015, so they don't really have a lot of history to talk about. They might have, but nothing that I could really find out online. And this album is pretty to the point. There's not a lot to digest in it. I don't really go ahead and start dissecting the lyrics on here. I am well aware that there's a concept background to this album, being something about a journal of a mental ward commissioner, if I'm not mistaken, but honestly, going through the lyrics while listening to this album, I kind of got the gist of things, but not enough to really, elaborate more on this album. So if you want to try and understand it for yourself, give this album a listen because it is overall pretty good. And yeah, if it was not understood already, my favorite track on here is the last track, which also happens to be the longest track on here. Now, it's called Delirium, and because I believe it is longer than the rest, it really goes in different places and try and experiment with new ideas, which make it a lot more prog in the sense that I like it. That is to say, there are no bad songs on this album. It's all pretty good, but nothing also is pretty great. But as I mentioned, this was not going to be a long review. I have no more to say. If you have any added information about this band or this album, feel free to write it down in the comments. Let's move on. This cover is pretty cool. It's very neo-prog in its nature, and I like the way that it introduces us to the 5 members of this band while still obstructing the one main feature that makes them recognizable, which are the eyes. And when I was reviewing the album Disillusion a couple of days ago, I said that sometimes a grayscale album can really benefit from the use of at least one color on it, and I think that this cover specifically does this thing great, adding this one very submarine, very mesmerizing shade of magenta magenta. Did I just say magenta? I meant to say cyan. And on another note, this album name is Alienism, and for some reason this cover also features some sort of alien feeling vibe, something to it. It really feels like one of those crop circles just put into another type of imagery. Overall, a cool cover, but not one that I would want to really, hang on my wall or have in my collection, because I don't really connect to it. I can just appreciate it quite objectively. And when it comes to the rating of this album, this one's gonna receive a very typically Scandinavian 7 out of 10. But that's about it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for tomorrow because we're gonna be listening to Salutogenesis by the band Soul Splitter. But that's about it, guys. Have a wonderful day and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.